Hi, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Deanne Castro, Creative Memories Advisor in Bakersfield, California. And I am here to show you a really fun border that I saw. Pinterest had a card that someone had made using this um, similar technique. And I loved it and thought, wow, that would make a really fun generic scrapbook border. So because it's kind of generic, I made it out of lots of different paper, and some of it was just out of my paper buffet and out of scraps that I had already had. So I'm so excited to show it to you. It's so much fun. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate those who have been watching faithfully for so long. And if some of you have not clicked on that little bell when you've subscribed, and so you get the notifications when my videos come out, go ahead and do that, because then you'll be able to see my new stuff as they come out. So let me switch over, and I'm going to show you these borders. Aren't these fun? I just got so excited with this idea that I just made tons. So this one, these actually can be used either way. They can be vertical or they can be horizontal, just kind of depending on where you put your embellishments. This one I used from uh, Deeper in the Woods. And just see how just generic this is. You could use this on all kinds of other pages, and you could even add another embellishment or a sticker over here if you wanted. This one was done with the Poolside Paradise. Here I have Swim and Sip with some embellishments. So this one, obviously, the way the sticker is, this one is a vertical border. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't it? It's so pretty. I just loved it. This one was made out of the Heart to Help. And this one could be either vertical or horizontal. And I always love the colors in this paper. It's so pretty. This one was just out of my stash. Honestly, I don't remember what this paper was out of, but I loved the colors in it. And when I paired it with the navy and the darker blue, it just brought all those colors out. And then these embellishments were out of the Capri, Capri color of one of the paper packs we had a few years ago. So these were so pretty, and the colors went so well with this paper. They weren't the same paper pack, but just pulled them out of my stash, and that's what happened. So, and these also could be either vertical or horizontal. I'm so excited. These are so pretty. So let me show you the paper that I chose for this one. Again, I just pulled it out of my stash. They were just pieces that were left over. And I just kind of tried to color coordinate them. So this is the Serenity laser cut borders. I'm going to see if cutting apart a couple of these and adding them on here at the end are going to come out right. So we'll just see how that goes. I don't want to put that too far away so I don't forget. Okay, this is Black Shimmer. This is out of one of a seaside type of a paper pack. This is pretty old. I'd say it's probably 3 or 4 years ago at least. This one was out of maybe the same one, but just the drifting sand and the colors in it, I just thought was so pretty, and it matched with the seashells. This one is out of a different paper pack. And honestly, I don't even remember what this was out of. Probably one of the fall ones. And this is like copper color on the back. I just thought this was really pretty, and the colors went really well. So what you want to do, man, this is actually kind of an embossed. Look at that. Look at how that looks almost embossed in between those various levels. I didn't realize that until I just picked it up. Okay, so what you want to do is you just want to gather some pieces that all color coordinate. Okay, then you want to figure out what you want as the base. So like what you want in here to begin with. Then what you're going to want on top. Then what you're going to want to use just to accent this just a little bit. And then the color you want to use as the very bottom to pull colors out of the other papers that you were using. Okay, so let's think here. I use this as the base. This one, I think I want this one as that middle piece right there. And then this would be pretty just as similar colors, but maybe I want it to be a little busier and I want to use the shells. Okay, so we'll come back to that other piece. So what you want to do is you want to take these two. And these are both going to be 2 inches. Okay. So cut this one at 2 inches. Now you guys can make this as wide as you want. I tend to really not care for borders that are wider than about 2.5 because they tend to kind of get in the way of my photos. So I like to keep them on the smaller side. So I'm cutting both of these at 2 inches. Okay, this is going to be the one on top of this one. So I'm going to set that like that for now. I didn't write this down. So this one is 2.25. So if I take this one, see what this would look like as the base, as the accent. I like that. So the black, I'm only going to need 2 kind of 3/8 inch pieces. So our particular trimmers, it has where the glass is put in here. There is a line right here, just to the right of the cutting mat. Now the cutting mat, when at the end of this, is 1/4 inch. I want it just a little bit bigger, so I have a little more to work with, but I don't really need it a full 1/2 inch. So I'm going to line this up against that particular mark, and I need 2 of these. You can make these as wide or as small as you want, just because you're only going to have a little bit of it peeking out from these particular pieces here. So it's only going to accent these pieces right here. Oh, what I forgot to tell you, these are all on foam squares because it really accents the crevice here if you put these on foam squares. Honestly, I am not a fan of using a lot of foam squares, but for this particular border, it really made this pop. Okay, so, and then the base piece is 2.25. So this bottom piece here is 2.25 inches. So I'm going to use this. See how this works out for 2.25 inches. Okay, now what we want to do, now that we have all these pieces cut, is we're going to take the piece that you want on the top. So this is the one I want on the top. We're going to take this piece and we're going to mark it. Okay, we're going to mark it at 1 inch from the top on the left-hand side. Okay, so we're going to mark it at 1 inch. Then I'm going to move down and mark at like a 2-inch mark here. Okay, now on the right-hand side, I'm going to go up 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go up 3 inches and mark it here. And on the bottom, I'm just going to mark it right in the middle. Since it's a 2-inch piece, I'm going to mark it at the 1 inch. Okay. And then make sure you can see those marks. Okay, this is this one at the 1 inch right here. And the 2 inch, there it is. I lost it for a minute. Okay. So there's the 2 inch. It's kind of hard to see. Here's the 1 inch right here. And these are kind of approximate. So right in the middle is that mark right there. And then the 3 inch mark is up here. Okay. So let me kind of write that down for you. So you need on the left, you need to mark 1 inch down and 2 inches down. Okay. On the right, you mark 3 inches up from the bottom. And then on the bottom, you mark it at in the center. So whatever size you make it, you would mark it in the center. Okay, so on the left, and this is from the top, you mark it about 1 inch down from the top, and then a second mark at about 2 inches down. On the right, it's 3 inches up from the bottom, and you mark the center mark on the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to take this, I'm going to find the 1 inch mark from the top. Here's the 1 inch. And I'm going to line it up on the cut line. And I'm going to cut it down to the 3 inch mark here on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to pull these out, line this up, make sure it's going to cut right about where I need it. Same on the bottom. So we'll cut right there. Okay, and I'm going to cut it. And that gives us, oops, did I not cut it? I didn't cut it all the way through. Okay, let's do this again. Need to press a little harder. There we go. Okay, we've got that piece. Now I'm going to go down to the 2 inch mark right here, and I'm going to cut it to the center on the bottom. Okay, so I'm cutting it on the center on the bottom down here, and the 2 inch mark here on the top. So make sure you can see those marks fairly well. Then I'm going to make sure I start about the right spot. Move this over a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact. It really just depends on how much of a piece you want centering here. And you're actually going to cover it up with some embellishments or some stickers. So it really doesn't have to be exact, but you just need to be aware it's going to get really thin on the top. This piece you can use on another border if you want to do like the shadow effect, you know, they're opposite ones. So you can hang on to that if you want. But these are the two pieces you're going to use. Okay. Now we're going to take this piece and we're going to put adhesive on this side because we're going to be putting these pieces right along this edge. Okay, so put some adhesive along that edge. And then we're going to take this and line this up. And we're just going to give it a tiny bit of a reveal. Doesn't need to be much at all. Maybe like 1/16. Okay, so just kind of eyeball it. All the way up. Okay. See, you're not using a whole lot. It's just going to accent this piece on the top. Then take your scissors, start here on the top, and angle in to cut right on this edge. Okay, see how I'm just cutting right down this edge here? A little bit of glare on the window. Just going to cut it right down until it meets this right there. Okay, so see, you've got a straight edge. Oops, straight edge right on this side. And then this doesn't need to be this long. You can kind of cut this off too if you want. It's not going to be seen, so it really doesn't matter on here. Okay, so you've got that. And now we're going to do that on the other piece. So we're going to put the black strip down this side. So make sure you're watching which side you need it on, because when I was making the other one last night, I put the adhesive on the wrong edge of one of them. So I had to take it off and start over, but that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to do this one. And there again. Now, because this is a straight edge here, because we didn't cut from like an inch until an inch down, this is where you need this to start. So kind of start it right there. Again, just a little bit of a reveal. Make sure it goes straight up. Okay, and then do the same thing up here at the top. And this is a little easier. So just make sure you're cutting off this black edge right against the edge. Okay, just like that. Okay, now we're going to need some foam squares. This actually takes quite a few. If you have this foam tape roll, it's kind of easier to use. What I was doing is I was cutting it in half, just taking parts of this and cutting the length like about this much at a time, and then cutting it in half. And this was just to save on my foam square type stuff because, I don't know, it's kind of time consuming. Put this right along the edge. But I didn't use as many of the smaller foam squares doing it this way. But it takes a little bit longer. So I'm not going to do that, but that was just how I did all of the other ones. So I'm going to take a few of these now and go down along the edge. You can cut these in half if you'd like. And I'm going to do that with these bigger ones. And again, it does use quite a few foam squares. Because you do want it to be popped up all the way down. You don't want it to sag in the middle. Okay, so you don't need to watch me do this. So let me finish this up and I'll be right back. So now we have all the foam squares on these pieces. Again, it's a little tedious, but it's so worth the effect. Now, when I got up close to the top of these tips, you can see I had to cut the foam squares pretty small. And they tend to get stuck to my scissors. So I took a baby wipe from one of my grandkids' baby wipes and wiped it off real good. And then my scissors worked a whole lot better. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece, which is going to be the under piece, and we're going to take all of these off. Sorry, should have done this while you were waiting for me. Okay, got all of these done. Now, I'm going to put this one on the bottom here, right up along. Oops. I'm going to trim this just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to put this right up along the bottom edge and up along the left-hand side. So kind of eyeball it as you're putting it on there. Make sure you get it all the way over to the edge. Okay. And then this one, the same thing. This one's going all the way across. And you can trim this up just a little bit. Just go right along that straight edge and just trim that off like that. Okay. Line this up against the whole bottom piece as close as you can. Line it up against the left edge as you go up. Do your best to get it straight as much as you can, because with all those foam squares, it's a little difficult to take off. Okay, now what you're going to need to do is trim off a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'd say line it up with this line right here that I had actually cut those smaller pieces with. It's a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Trim that off, because then you're going to take the bottom piece and so it gets seen all the way around. Okay, so you can see a little bit of the color on the top and the bottom. So you can see that all the way around. So see, you can see your very bottom piece all the way down and across the bottom. I liked cutting it off just a little bit so that it gave it a little more consistency like that. Okay, now we've got that on there. Isn't that pretty? I just love how it just accents the paper beneath it, and it gives it more dimension using the foam squares. So now I'm going to put adhesive on this one. Center it on here. And I'm going to continue this up here. And that part's done. Isn't that pretty? I love this one. This is so cool. I can't wait to use this on a beach one. But it's also pretty versatile. You can use it on something else because I'm going to pull out the Serenity laser cut borders here and see how we can fix up that one little section. I'm not quite sure of these colors. So let's see. We can add a couple of those on there. It's a little bright, but it does blend. We can add a couple of these on here. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's pretty, but it blends a little much. So is there something else that's a little different color? Hmm. Oh, I really kind of like those. I would just add a little bit of extra on there too, huh? We've got several options here. We could even do just a few flowers across. Nah, that doesn't match the theme very well. Or arrows. Or, huh, nope, that doesn't go. So I'm not sure these would work very well. I'm just going to cut this apart and just see what we end up with on this one. So I'm just going to trim around here. Don't be afraid to cut up these laser borders, guys. I was very afraid in the beginning, and now I do it a lot. So here I've just trimmed that piece off. And I could just put one there or two there. Or maybe accent them the other way. So I'm going to actually trim this off. Add that there. Add this here. This other side looks better. And I think I'm just going to add those right there. They may not work exact, but they're close. And it covers up that little section right there. You could also put these on foam squares, which I did on the others, but I think this is going to look just fine not being on foam squares. Okay, so just kind of throw those colors on there. I probably will find something different to stick on there, but this is just working to finish it off. Okay, there we go. Here's our border out of our stash, out of all of the little pieces I have left over from various things. And it makes a super easy generic border. So let's see, I'll set that up there. Add another couple of them just so you guys could see the difference. We'll put these on here like this. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. I had so much fun with these. I thought these were just so versatile and fairly easy. Like I said, the foam squares make it a little tedious. You don't have to add the foam squares if you want, so try it without if you don't want to do that. But go from there. Okay, so use your imagination, use your own creativity, because guys, you probably can do this a whole lot better than me. I just come up with these ideas and then I bet you can enhance them and make them so much better. So if you'd like, you can ask to join my Facebook group, and it would be a lot of fun if you joined us and if you made some of these borders or made some of these pages and just shared your ideas with all the rest of us so we can have even that many more ideas. All right. So thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your week. Have a blessed week, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you. All righty. Bye.